Welcome back to Rarest Coins. If you've ever sifted through old pennies, or even if you've got a jar full of loose change lying around, you might want to pay close attention to today's video. We're diving deep into one of the most intriguing pennies from the 1970s, the 1970 Lincoln penny. This little coin might just be worth a lot more than 1 cent, and I'm going to show you exactly why. Now, most people think of a penny as, well, just a penny, but the 1970 Lincoln penny can be a hidden gem if you know what to look for. In this video, we'll explore the variations, errors, and key features that could make your 1970 penny worth hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. So, if you've got one of these in your collection, or if you happen to come across one in your change, make sure you watch until the end. This could be a game changer for you. Alright. Let's start by setting the stage. The 1970 Lincoln penny was part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, which first debuted in 1909. By 1970, the Lincoln penny was still featuring the familiar design with Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front and the iconic wheat stalks on the reverse. Rarest coins in 1970. There were two main versions of the penny, one minted in Philadelphia with no mint mark, and one minted in Denver, which is the D variety we're talking about today. The 1970 penny wasn't anything special at first glance. However, it's the subtle errors and rare variations that make this penny stand out. So, let's dive into what makes the 1970 penny so interesting. So, why exactly is the 1970 penny worth so much more than just 1 cent? The answer lies in a few key factors, including rare errors, variations, and even the coin's condition. Let's break down the main reasons why this penny could be worth a lot of money. 1. The 1970 small date versus large date penny. Rarest coins. First up, the 1970 small date and large date pennies. This is one of the most important distinctions that collectors look for when evaluating a 1970 penny. So, what's the difference? Well, in 1970, there were two different die types used to mint the pennies, resulting in a large date version and a small date version. The large date version has larger numbers, and the small date version has smaller numbers. The small date variety is much rarer than the large date, and as a result, it's far more valuable to collectors. In fact, a 1970 small date penny in mint condition can be worth anywhere from $50 to $200, depending on its condition. The small date version is highly sought after, and if you find one in pristine condition, you could be sitting on a real treasure. 2. The 1970 double die penny. Next, we have the double die error, which is one of the most exciting types of error that can occur during the minting process. A double die error happens when the die used to strike the coin doesn't align properly, causing the design to appear twice. This doubling effect is especially visible on the date and lettering, making it a key feature to look for when evaluating your 1970 penny. Rarest coins on the 1970 penny. The most noticeable doubling typically appears on the date and on the word A Liberty or the motto A in God We Trust. The doubling can be subtle in some cases, but in more extreme examples, it's quite pronounced. If you find a 1970 penny with a strong doubled die, it can be worth anywhere from $100 to over $1,000, depending on the intensity of the doubling and the condition of the coin. 3. The 1970 off-center strike penny. Rarest coins. Another rare and valuable error to keep an eye out for is the off-center strike. This occurs when the coin's blank blanket is not properly aligned in the minting press, resulting in the design being struck off-center. These types of errors are pretty rare and can make a 1970 penny very valuable. Off-center strike pennies can range in value, but a 1970 off-center penny could be worth anywhere from $50 to $500 or more, depending on how far off-center the design is. The more dramatic the error, the more valuable the coin. The 1970 clipped plankett penny. Another unique error to watch. Welcome back to Rarest Coins. In today's video, we're diving into something that might surprise you: how a simple 1978 Lincoln penny could be worth a lot more than you think. If you have one of these pennies sitting around, you might want to stick around because we're going to break down exactly how much it's worth, what makes it valuable, and how to find a rare gem in your collection. Now, most people think of pennies as little more than pocket change, right? You toss them in a jar or maybe just let them accumulate in your car's cup holder. But some pennies, even from the 1970s, can actually be worth a lot of money. That's right, a 1978 Lincoln penny could be hiding something special, and today we're going to explore why. Rarest coins. First off, let's cover the basics. The 1978 Lincoln penny, also known as the Lincoln cent, is part of the series that started back in 1909, featuring President Abraham Lincoln. The 1978 penny was minted in both Philadelphia and Denver, which means there are two types of 1978 pennies, the P mint mark and the D mint mark. Now, the majority of those pennies are made of copper-plated zinc and are produced in mass quantities, so if you have a standard 1978 penny, its value is going to be pretty close to face value, just 1 cent. But don't go anywhere yet. We're about to get into the really interesting part of what makes some 1978 pennies worth much more than that. Okay, here's where things get juicy. While most 1978 pennies are worth only a few cents, there are a few key things that can make certain 1978 pennies far more valuable. First, let's talk about rare errors. Coin errors happen when something goes wrong during the minting process. With the 1978 penny, there are a few major errors to look for. Some of the most valuable ones include: 1. The 1978 double die penny. This is one of the most sought-after error coins. It occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the minting process, causing some of the design to appear doubled. This can happen on the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." If you find one of these with the noticeable doubling effect, it could be worth hundreds of dollars or even more depending on its condition. 2. The 1978 off-center penny. Another rare error is the off-center strike. This happens when the blank plankette, the metal disc that becomes the penny, is not properly aligned during the strike, causing part of the design to be cut off. Off-center pennies can range in value from $50 to over $200 depending on the degree of the misalignment. 3. The 1978 test-proof penny. Now, this one is a bit tricky. While 1978 was a year when proof sets were produced, most 1978 pennies were struck in regular circulation. However, if you find a 1978 penny with the S mint mark, meaning it was struck in San Francisco, it could be worth more if it is part of a proof set. These proof coins are made with a different, higher quality process that results in a mirror-like finish. Depending on its condition, this could make it more valuable to collectors. Now, even if your penny does have one of these rare errors or features, condition is key when it comes to determining its value. A penny in mint condition will always be worth far more than one that's heavily worn. The grading system for coins is called the Sheldon scale, which ranges from 1 to 70. The higher the number, the better the condition. So, if your 1978 penny is in excellent condition, it could be worth significantly more than just a couple of cents. For example, a 1978 penny in uncirculated, near-perfect condition can be worth $5 to $10, and if it has one of those error traits we discussed earlier, that value can skyrocket. On the other hand, a heavily worn 1978 penny might only fetch a few cents above face value, even if it has an error. Rarest coins. So, how do you know if you've got a rare, valuable 1978 penny? Here are a few tips. 1. Examine the date and mint mark. Check closely to see if the date is doubled or if the mint mark is clear and in the correct spot. 2. Look for signs of doubling. Under magnification, look for a double die error. This can appear around the date, the word liberty, or even on the motto. Welcome back to Rarest Coins, your go-to spot for everything coins and collectibles. In today's video, we're diving into a penny that you might have in your pocket right now, a 1976 Lincoln penny. You might think it's just a piece of copper, but guess what? It could be worth a lot more than you think. That's right, A 1976 Lincoln penny could actually be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on a few key factors. In this video, we'll explore why this penny is so special, what to look for to determine its value, and how you can cash in on your find. So if you've got one of these lying around, stick with me, and let's find out if you've got rare gem on your hands. Rarest coins. Alright, before we get into the juicy details, let's take a quick look at the 1976 Lincoln penny and its background. The D in 1976 indicates that this penny was minted at the Denver Mint. 1976 was a special year in the United States, as the country celebrated its bicentennial anniversary of the 200th birthday of the nation. To mark this milestone, the U.S. Mint issued a special commemorative coin, the 1976 Eisenhower dollar, and even released a new reverse design for the quarter. However, the Lincoln penny largely stayed the same, featuring Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the familiar wheat stalks on the reverse. Now, even though the 1976 penny isn't a bicentennial coin, it's still an important piece of history, and over the years, it has caught the attention of collectors and enthusiasts alike. Rarest coins. Now, let's get into what makes the 1976 Lincoln penny so special. Unlike the standard copper pennies that were minted before 1982, the 1976 penny is made of a copper-plated zinc alloy, which was the standard composition for pennies in this era. However, even though millions of these coins were made, a small number of them have turned out to be highly valuable. There are a few reasons why the 1976 Lincoln penny could be worth way more than just 1 cent. Let's talk about some of the key factors when it comes to determining the value of a 1976 penny. One of the most important things to consider is whether your penny has any rare errors or special characteristics. Let's take a look at some of the most notable ones. The 1976 double die penny. First up, we've got the double die error. This happens when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned or shifts slightly during the minting process. This results in parts of the design being struck twice, which can cause the date, the mint mark, or even the lettering to appear doubled. For the 1976 penny, you'll want to check closely for doubling in the date, especially the 7 and 6 in the year. If you find significant doubling on the date or on other parts of the coin, you may have a highly sought-after double die error on your hands. These can sell for anywhere from $50 to over $1,000 depending on the severity of the doubling and the condition of the coin. The 1976 off-center penny. Another rare and valuable variation of the 1976 penny is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank planchet to the metal disc that's stamped into a coin is not properly aligned with the die, causing part of the design to be missing or cut off. An off-center 1976 penny can be a real find, especially if the strike is significantly misaligned. Off-center coins can range in value from around $50 to several $100s, depending on how far off-center the coin is. Next, let's talk about clipped planchet errors. This is when a piece of the blank planchet is clipped off during the minting process. These coins are unique and quite rare. If you come across a 1976 penny with a clipped edge, you could be looking at a coin that's worth anywhere from $100 to $500 or more, depending on the severity of the clip and the coin's overall condition. Now, let's talk about something that can make a huge difference in the value of your coin condition. The value of any rare coin, including the 1976 Lincoln penny, is directly tied to its grade, or how well it. Welcome back to Rarest Coins. Today, we've got an exciting topic for you. If you're someone who loves collecting coins, or if you just happen to have a jar of pennies lying around, you'll definitely want to pay attention to today's video. We're talking about a penny that could be worth far more than just its face value, the 1961 Lincoln penny. That's right up, this seemingly ordinary coin might just have a hidden value that could surprise you. So, what makes the 1961 penny so special, and why should you care? Well, stick around as we take a deep dive into the reasons why this penny could be worth a lot of money, how to identify rare and valuable 1961 pennies, and most importantly, how you can make sure you don't miss out on a hidden treasure in your collection. Before we jump into the errors and variations that could make your 1961 penny a small fortune, let's start with a little background. The Lincoln penny, introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln, has undergone various design changes over the years, but by 1961, it was still using the traditional design with Lincoln's portrait on the front and the wheat stalks on the back. Rarest coins 1961 was just another year of regular minting for the Lincoln cent, and millions of them were produced. Over 1 billion pennies were made just in that year. The D Mint mark on the coin signifies that this penny was struck at the Denver Mint, which produced a huge portion of the country's coinage. So, what makes the 1961 penny stand out? Well, there are a few very specific features that can turn this otherwise ordinary coin into something valuable. Alright, so why is the 1961 penny worth more than its face value? The key to its value lies in rare variations and errors that were made during the minting process. Let's talk about a few things that could make your 1961 penny worth far more than 1 cent. 1. The 1961 double die penny. One of the most common and valuable errors found in 1961 pennies is the double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned, causing parts of the design to be struck twice. This results in a doubling effect, which can be seen in the date, the lettering, and other areas of the coin. On a double die 1961 penny, look closely at the date, particularly the 1 and 9 in 1961. These are common spots for doubling. You may also see the word Liberty and the motto "In God We Trust" exhibiting this characteristic. Some examples of this double die error can be incredibly valuable depending on the extent of the doubling and the condition of the coin. A 1961 double die penny can be worth anywhere from $50 to $1,000, or even more if it's in near mint condition. 2. The 1961 RPM, repunched mint mark, penny. Another rare feature to watch out for is the repunched mint mark, or RPM. This is another error that happens when the mint mark, in this case, the D on the 1961 penny, is punched into the die more than once, resulting in the mint mark appearing in two slightly different places on the coin. On the 1961 penny, this error can be especially noticeable when you look at the D mint mark closely. If you spot a mint mark that looks like it's been stamped twice, even just slightly off from each other, then you have a 1961 RPM penny. These coins are highly desirable to collectors, and depending on the clarity of the error, they can be worth anywhere from $20 to $500 or more, especially if they're in excellent rarest coins. 3. The 1961 off-center strike penny. Next up, we have the off-center strike error. This happens when the blank metal plankett is not aligned properly in the minting press, causing the design to be struck off-center. If your 1961 penny has a noticeable off-center strike, where part of the design is missing or poorly aligned, you could have a very valuable coin. Off-center strike errors are relatively rare, and when they occur on a coin from the 1960s, like the 1961 penny, they can fetch anywhere from $50 to $500 or more depending on how far off-center the strike is. The 1961 clipped plankett penny and off. Welcome back to Rarest Coins, where we help you discover rare coins, valuable errors, and everything you need to know to turn a common coin into a hidden treasure. In today's video, we're diving deep into the 1978 Jefferson nickel. At first glance, it might seem like just another 5-cent piece, but there's more to this coin than meets the eye. Zooms in on the 1978 Jefferson nickel held in their hand. From potential minting errors to high-grade examples, the 1978 Jefferson nickel could be worth a lot more than its face value. So, Whether you're a seasoned collector or just starting out, stick with me as we break down everything you need to know to spot a valuable 1978D nickel. Let's get started. Cut to a close-up of the 1978D Jefferson nickel, showing both the obverse, front, and reverse, back, of the coin. First, let's take a quick refresher on the basics of the 1978D Jefferson nickel. The coin features Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, designed by Felix Schlag, and the reverse showcases Jefferson's home. Monticello holds the coin to the camera, showcasing the design. The AD mint mark on the reverse tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint. But even though this coin was minted in large numbers, nearly 300 million, there are still ways this coin can stand out and become a valuable find. Scene transitions to the host with a magnifying glass, inspecting multiple 1978D Jefferson nickels laid out on the table. Now, let's talk about minting errors. When it comes to collecting rare coins, errors are often the key to finding value. While the 1978D Jefferson nickel is generally a common coin, there are a few minting errors that could make it worth a lot more than face value. $2 million rarest coins. Points to one of the coins, holding it under a magnifying glass. One of the most common errors you'll find on the 1978D Jefferson nickel is the A struck-through error. This happens when debris, so whether it's dirt, grease, or other foreign material, gets stuck in the die during the minting process. When this happens, the design can be partially or fully blocked out in certain areas of the coin. Zoom in to show a struck-through error on the Monticello building or Jefferson's portrait. If you find a 1978D nickel where parts of Monticello are faded or missing, or where Jefferson's portrait is incomplete, you could have a struck-through error. Coins with these types of imperfections can fetch anywhere from $50 to $200, depending on the extent of the error and the overall condition of the coin. Scene transitions to the host holding a magnifying glass, focusing on the A1978 date on a 1978D Jefferson nickel. Another error that can add significant value to the 1978D Jefferson nickel is the 8 double die error. This occurs when the coin's die is misaligned during the striking process, causing the design to appear twice, resulting in doubling on the letters, numbers, or other details. Zoom in on the A1978 date and the word A Liberty to show how doubling looks. On the 1978D Jefferson nickel, you'll most often see the doubling effect on the date, A Liberty, and the phrase A in God We Trust. If you spot doubling on these areas, especially if it's noticeable to the naked eye, you may be looking at a double die error. Cut to a magnified image showing clear doubling on the date or lettering. Coins with the prominent double die error are highly sought after by collectors, and depending on the clarity of the doubling and the coin's overall condition, a 1978D Jefferson nickel could be worth anywhere from $50 to $500 or more. The clearer and more noticeable the doubling, the higher the value. $2 million rarest coins. Scene transitions to the host carefully inspecting several 1978D nickels on the table. But minting errors don't stop there. While struck-through errors and double die varieties are the most common, there are other errors that could also make a 1978D Jefferson nickel more valuable. Host points to a 1978D coin with a visible die crack along the edge. One error to look out for is the A die crack. A die crack occurs when the minting die develops a crack during production, which is then transferred onto the coin. You might find these cracks along the border or through the design itself, like Jefferson's hair or Monticello's columns. Welcome back to Rarest Coins, where we explore everything related to coins, collecting, and how to find hidden treasures. In today's video, we're going to talk about a coin that might be worth a lot more than just one setup, the 1960D Lincoln penny. If you have one of these in your collection or perhaps buried in a jar of loose change, you'll definitely want to keep watching. There are some rare and valuable 1960D pennies out there, and you could be holding one in your hand right now. Most people think of pennies as, well, just pennies, right? But there's a twist here. A 1960D Lincoln penny, depending on its condition and a few other factors, could actually be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Stick with me as we dive into what makes this penny so special, how to identify if yours is worth something big, and how to cash in on your find. Rarest coins. Let's start by understanding the basics of the 1960D Lincoln penny. The D on the penny indicates that it was minted at the Denver Mint, which, along with the Philadelphia Mint, was responsible for producing most of the nation's coins. In 1960, the Lincoln penny still featured the familiar design that had been in circulation since 1909. With President Abraham Lincoln on the front and a simple wheat reverse design. However, 1960 was a key year in the history of the penny, as it marked the transition from large, 95% copper pennies to smaller, copper-plated zinc pennies, a shift that would take full effect in 1982. However, there's more to the 1960D penny than just a simple copper composition. A few key variations and errors from this year make the 1960D penny highly collectible, and this is where the fun begins. So, let's get into what makes this penny one of the most sought-after coins among collectors. Rarest coins. Now, this is where things get really interesting. While the 1960D Lincoln penny might seem like just another penny from the 1960s, there are several key variations and errors that make certain examples worth way more than just 1 cent. Let's break down some of the rare, valuable 1960D pennies you might encounter. 1. The 1960D Double Die Penny. First up, we have the 1960D Double Die Penny. This is one of the most valuable and highly sought-after errors for this year. A double die error happens when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the minting process, causing the design to appear doubled in certain areas. On the 1960D penny, the most common places to look for doubling are the date and the lettering around Lincoln's portrait, particularly the word Liberty and the motto "In God We Trust." In extreme cases, this doubling is so obvious that it's almost impossible to miss, even with the naked eye. If you happen to find a strong example of a double die penny, it could be worth anywhere from $200 to over $1,000, depending on the severity of the doubling and the overall condition of the coin. 2. The 1960D Large Date versus Small Date Penny. Another important variation to note is the difference between the 1960D Large Date and Small Date pennies. This is one of those subtle yet significant distinctions that coin collectors love to debate. The large date is the more common version, where the digits in the year are spaced farther apart and are larger in size. The small date, on the other hand, features smaller, closer set digits. While the difference may seem small, it can have a huge impact on the value of your penny. The small date version of the 1960D penny is much rarer, and if you come across one in good condition, it could be worth much more than the large date variety. Small date pennies from 1960D in higher grades can be worth hundreds of dollars, sometimes even more than $500, especially if the coin is in mint. Rarest coins. 3. The 1960D Off-Center Strike Penny. Next, we've got another cool error to look for: the off-center strike error. This occurs when the blank plankette, the metal disc used to mint the coin, is not properly aligned with the die, resulting in a design that's not centered on the coin. These types of errors are relatively rare, and if you find a 1960D penny with an off-center strike, you could be looking at a